Good afternoon, everyone. This is a fascinating and deeply complex geopolitical chess match. The frenemy dynamics, a cycle of strategic marriage, bitter divorce, and desperate reconciliation. I'm going to expand this story in the new program called What If We Can Call an Apple when it is an apple, which should help us look at the raw mechanics of power that often gets buried under the propaganda that's coming from every direction. Just a reminder, when I say an apple here, I'm referring to the truth, as in Truth, the Blood Brothers era, that is from the 1970s to the early 1990s. Here the TPLF and EPLF weren't just allies. They were ideological students of the same Marxist-Leninist school. However, the apple here is that it was always a marriage of convenience. In the early 80s, the marriage was used when EPLF, aided by TPLF, went after Eritrean Liberation Front, that is the ELF. This is when Eritrea was continuously hemorrhaging of her young disappearing, be it due to the civil war, hunted by Derg, or leaving the country. Eritrean scholars often refer to this era as a Zebene Mennaharia Filset Menasei Eritrea. Let me say that again. Zebene Mennaharia Filset Menasei Eritrea. Simply meaning the era of the migration of the Eritrean youth. Throughout the 80s, the EPLF was the big brother, better armed and more organized. They viewed the TPLF as a junior partner to secure their southern flank. The TPLF in agreement to Eritrean independence, that's the TPLF in agreement to Eritrean independence, not just out of ethnic solidarity, but because they needed the EPLF's military muscle to topple the Derg. Then came the 1998-2000 border war, a true test of leadership and political ego. It's my understanding that the TPLF may have been the initial aggressor, at least based on the information available to me, that is. The sour truth is that the war was not truly about the dusty town of Badme, which held a little economic value, but rather about a clash of egos between two former liberation movements. But once the TPLF marched into Addis Ababa, the fundamentals had shifted. They were no longer the junior partner in Liberation Alliance. They were the power behind the throne. Eritrea's Isaias Afwerki and Ethiopia's Meles Zenawi, both considered brilliant and stubborn, couldn't share the Horn of Africa stage. The war was inevitable, result of the two alpha organizations outgrowing their shared cage. Fast forward, the 2022 paradox, the enemy of my enemy. When Eritrea joined Abiy Ahmed's federal forces to fight the TPLF in the 2020-2022, it wasn't because there was a lost love for the state of Ethiopia. I think it was a grudge match. Eritrea wanted to permanently dismantle the TPLF to ensure they could never threaten Asmara again. The apple, or the true or the sour truths here, by helping weaken the TPLF so thoroughly, Eritrea accidentally removed the only thing keeping Ethiopia's central government occupied. Now the centralized Ethiopia is looking toward the Red Sea, to the Port of Assab, that is. Let's call some more apple and apple, despite how sour that is. The truth, Ethiopia is the most populous landlocked country in the world. The apple or the sour truth, no Ethiopian leader, Amhara, Oromo, even Tigrayan in the long run can ignore the Port of Assab. It's an existential necessity for their economy. Conversely though, for Eritrea, Assab isn't just a harbor, it is a physical manifestation of their independence. After a 30-year war to break away from Ethiopia, the port is the no trespassing sign on their front lawn. It is a sovereignty shield and their ultimate leverage. Then there is the Tigrayan identity crisis, or the Tigrinya identity crisis, that is. The truth, the EPLF and TPLF share a language, Tigrinya, in culture. The apple, or the sour truth again, sharing an ethnicity often makes a civil war bloodier, not shorter. Again, sharing an ethnicity often makes a civil war bloodier, not shorter. The betrayal felt between brothers is deeper. The trust deficit isn't just political, it's personal. Hold that phrase, trust deficit. I'll come back to that later because it will mean a lot. I mean, it's a deciding factor in a lot of things that we're facing today, or we might face tomorrow. Eritrean soldiers' action in Tigray during 2022 created a generational trauma that makes the current 2026 scenario, Eritrea seeking TPLF's help, extremely difficult to sell to the entire Tigrayan people. Then comes the 2026 Ethiopia won't support. Eritrea seems a bit isolated. The apple or the truth again. If Eritrea is now reaching out to a weakened TPLF, it suggests Eritrea is operating from a position of strategic strain. It means Asmara realized that a strong united Ethiopia, if TPLF somehow reconciles with Ethiopia that is, then the scenario will amount to a much bigger threat to its independence than the TPLF ever was. See the summary table of then and now, and I'll follow up with this tomorrow. Till then, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much again.